I am excited to invite to the stage Karen and Michelle. They're going to do a little fireside chat, so really excited to welcome them both. Michelle is here from NBA, and obviously Karen is here as our head of content. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I love how far up the chairs are also.
I know.
So just so you know, can you just give a sign that you can hear us? Because Michelle's not done this with the scientists. So they can hear us. So we're just going to have a normal conversation and they can hear us. So anyway, good morning, everybody. I know I'm not chairing this morning, but it's lovely to see you all again. And Michelle, it's lovely to have you here. So
thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your role before we begin, and then we're going to start to talk. And please know that we have our full 20 minutes and Michelle is open to questions. So Greg will bring questions up. So please use the app for your questions. We'll try to stop 5 minutes early so that your questions are answered, because it's the NBA. There might be a lot to talk about. So tell us about yourself and your role.
Yes. Hello. So my name is Michelle Augusti. I lead the Global Media Insights team. And you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? Well, have you ever read a newspaper article or seen on TV a game average 6.5 million viewers? That's my team. That's what we do. We work with viewership analytics. And basically what we do, we get these insights and basically turn them to actionable insights that really kind of drive tactical and strategic initiatives across the league.
And this is not your first stint in sports media.
It is.
It is. Tell us about your background. What kind of media have you been working in?
Yeah, so I actually came from the entertainment world. This is my first time actually working in sports. And very similar, but there are a lot of differences also. But I used to work at BET, Lifetime, MTV. So I basically came into this occupation, just really loving television. I remember growing up and being yelled at for watching too much television, and my mom said it would never help me in life. I definitely proved her wrong. And so basically I always worked for television and just really trying to connect the dots between numbers and people and the psyche of people, and really try to understand how the two work together to kind of come up with actionable insights.
So how different has sports media been for you compared to entertainment?
Yeah, sports media is so unpredictable. If you work in media, you know what you're airing. So for example, if you're at Netflix and you have The Crown, you know in episode 8, Princess Diana is going to die. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change that.
Yeah.
Now with us, I think the other night Knicks were playing against Chicago Bulls, and then they had overtime. Yeah. You can never really predict when there's overtime. You can never predict when someone's going to get hurt. You can't predict a fight. You can't predict anything. And all of that impacts the viewership. Yeah. So it's really hard for us to predict what kind of viewership we would expect, because it's so unpredictable.
All right, I'm using that as our segue to talk about unpredictable viewership. But let's talk about what happened with viewership with the Final Four, the women's college basketball and the men's college basketball. It was extraordinary what happened this year.
Yeah, so usually in the past, the men's basketball tournament usually outrates the women's by a substantial amount. This year was a completely different animal. With Caitlin Clark leading Iowa, the women's tournament just outrated the men's by at least 4 million viewers.
Yeah. Who watched? We watched? Yeah, we watched.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry about UConn, but yes.
It's all right. It's all right. You know what? We're just very proud. From Connecticut, but anyway, so we're all like Team UConn in Connecticut, but it's okay because they do great every year. So we're always proud of them, even if they don't go all the way.
Yes.
But also then, tell us about viewership for this week's draft for the WNBA, because that was extraordinary.
So usually for the WNBA draft, the highest we've really had is about 600,000 viewers. This year, we broke records. We actually averaged 2.5 million viewers, the highest viewership for a draft ever.
Yeah.
And just to give you some kind of context, for the men's NBA draft, it's about 3.7.
Yeah.
So this wasn't too far off from the men's NBA.
So exciting.
Yeah.
So now tell us, let's kind of, again, segue back into your role. When you get these numbers and you're looking at the data that you have, how does that get translated to the organization? How do they use what you tell them about viewership?
Yeah. So basically, if we just throw out a bunch of numbers to people and say, hey, figure it out, I think I would be out of a job in a week or two. And so basically what we have to do is really kind of pull out the insights, pull out the stories, and really create this narrative that it really kind of propels the business forward.
Yeah.
And so regarding on who you're talking to, marketing, communications, finance, scheduling, you basically tailor the insights to kind of meet their needs and try to give them suggestions and give them insights on how to make these strategic decisions.
Yeah, so like, can you give us an example? And it doesn't have to be specific and tangible, and certainly nothing proprietary, but how that might look when it comes to, you see what just happened with viewership numbers being so high. How might you take that kind of the insights gleaned from that and feed it to somebody else, another department?
Yeah, in addition, every day we set out daily reports.
Yeah.
So we definitely inform the company, inform the league about how we're performing.
Yeah.
But basically, regarding our high viewership, I think what is really impressive is the fact that, as we all know, television's on a rapid decline. And, especially among 18 to 34s, everyone always says the young generation is not watching television. And to the point, it's somewhat true, but for us, it's not true. In fact, we just reached our most viewed regular season in 4 years among total viewers and people 18 to 34. And when you think about 4 years ago, the television landscape has completely changed.
For sure.
When you look at 4 years ago, the television viewing levels were down 27%. There are 20% fewer cable households. The top general entertainment program in 4 years ago was NCIS, which is 11.6.
So interesting.
And then the top show, fast forward now, is Tracker, which is 8.8. So that's already down 24%.
Yeah.
So, what we do, we try to always put context around our numbers to try to showcase, the strength of our numbers.
Yeah. Let's just also talk about, actually, it's really interesting because I think we've had conversations with somebody from ESPN, for example, and they've talked about kind of fandom.
Yep.
How do you, and perhaps you don't in your role, but how do you kind of get some insights from fans? And is that different from audience?
Yes. So, yes, we call them fans and viewers. I deal with the viewers. So it's basically like the Nielsen viewership, the Nielsen ratings. Yeah. That's my world. And then we use consumer insights for the fans.
Yeah.
But we basically we collaborate a lot together, and we work in tandem with each other because you can't really, and you have to get a holistic view of your fans and viewers, and basically it's a combination of the fandoms and the viewers. So basically we work in tandem with them and just basically trying to understand, we're seeing these patterns and these behaviors on the viewership side. Can you add some color to explain why these patterns and behaviors are happening?
Yeah. Now, just also kind of thinking logistically about your organization, do you all, the people that have different types of roles that we might consider data insights, analytics, like are there other teams that you cross-functionally collaborate with?
Yes.
Or do you just all report up? How does that work?
Media insights is a very unique occupation. I like to refer to us as the nucleus of the cell, because I think we empower every department through our insights, our analytics, through our findings. And so basically we're like a service department where we're basically taking ad hoc requests, doing insights for different departments to kind of, like I said, help move the business forward.
Yeah. I think one of the things we talked about on our prep call back at the ranch is the whole idea of what it means to be kind of a data-driven organization. So let's just, before we get into how that fits at the NBA, what's your definition of being data-driven?
Yeah, so I think not making a decision without data to back it up.
Yeah.
And I think, it's really easy for my team and myself to be data-driven because I definitely try to advocate that we don't ever put out a suggestion or an opinion just based off of our guts.
Yeah.
That's not in the field and the business that we're in. We have to use data to support every suggestion and every insight that we give out.
Yeah.
And so we let the numbers tell the story.
Yeah. Is that like a corporate ethos, or is that really just what your department is?
That's my department. That's definitely my department. And I think it can be corporate ethos because I think there's certain departments that is a mixture of art and science.
Tell me more about that.
So I'm trying to figure out. So perfect example, we actually initiated the in-season tournament this year. And the reason why we did that, because our season starts in October, and people constantly tell us, the NBA season doesn't really start until Christmas. And so we always have a lull in viewership from October through December. And we're trying to figure out, what can we do to really kind of buck that trend? How can we grow the viewership?
Yeah.
And I think the art piece of it is that someone said, let's initiate a tournament, an in-season tournament. The data, the science part, we looked at the numbers, we kind of gave out projections, and we felt, I don't know if this is going to be the right idea. We don't expect strong numbers.
Yeah.
But they still moved forward with it, and they felt, in their gut that, this is the right direction we need to take. And luckily for us, the Lakers made it all the way through the finals and actually won the tournament. And the records were like extremely high, like record-breaking numbers. And so that was a time where I must say, I have to take a humble pill, but basically say that our data basically just did not support the art piece, the gut piece of this.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a great thing to sort of admit. It's like, all right, well, that happens sometimes, right? What I think is interesting, when you and I were talking actually just over there, and I was saying, let's share some fun facts, right? Some things that people may not know about the NBA. What's interesting to me is when you see the data, I'm a qualitative researcher at heart, but when you see the data, sometimes there are things that are obvious and sometimes there are not. So it's a leap of faith to sometimes make recommendations.
Yes.
How do you balance that in your life? Like whether it's like, I see the data saying this story, but also I know this from other sources. It's anyway, it's an interesting way to proceed. How do you navigate that?
You have to do a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And then you have to admit that, sometimes we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to take a step back and say, this is our recommendation. This is what we think. However, it could have a different outcome.
Yeah.
Based off of these other sources. And I think it's worth us taking the risk, or it's not worth us taking the risk.
Yeah. Cool. So speaking of outcomes, let's go back to, again, this is going to be the first question I asked her, which is, what are some fun, interesting nuggets about the NBA? Like some fun facts or things that this audience of Insights professionals may not understand. We're at questions already? Is that what you're telling?
This number is different.
Well, there you go. Just 1 second. Then come on up. We'll get to that next. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, what's some fun things that we had talked about you wanted to share?
Yeah. So I just mentioned earlier how, we're seeing record-breaking viewership on the domestic side, but on the global side, international side, we're also seeing growth. We have 1.1 billion fans globally. We're one of the fastest growing sports on a global level. And of everyone who watches the NBA on the planet Earth, 75% of them reside outside of the United States.
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why this is happening is that right now, 25% of NBA players are foreign-born. They were born outside the U.S. So right now, we have 125 NBA players that represent 45 countries, and this is the highest number of foreign-born players we've ever had at NBA.
Yeah.
And I have a challenge for everyone who's listening. If anyone can name all 125 players, I will give you a special prize.
So find it right after and say, I got this. That's not a lot. It's easy, right? That's funny. All right, Greg, why don't we go there? Because I can always go back to questions, but tell us what's coming in.
Okay, so there's actually a lot of kind of different and unique questions.
Okay.
So there's not thematically yet, but
Go right ahead.
So what is the impact of online gambling, all the changes in the rules on viewership?
Yes.
Are you seeing that correlation between those two things?
Yes. So I think what I said earlier, how 18 to 34 viewership is actually on the upswing. I think gambling has a huge part in that, because I think we always joke about like the younger generation, they don't have the attention span to watch a full 2.5 hour game. But they're really engaged in interacting with our game through online betting. And I think that's what we're reaping the benefits from that in our viewership.
And this is very much related, and I mentioned my son when we were all beside the stage.
If you name all 125, have your son meet LeBron.
He's like, I'm going to try.
And you get purple.
So, but anyway, damn, I'm really good. My brain is trying to figure out how to pull this.
How do I do this?
Can I calculate that and read this question at the same time? But it's just like a lot of fans are consuming a lot of content, especially younger fans, without necessarily watching a lot of games.
Yes.
How are you guys thinking about this difference between the attention span and the content and growing that maybe more towards more engagement with the games?
So, our ecosystem goes way beyond our viewership numbers. And to your point, it includes social, it includes digital. And unfortunately, right now, there isn't a metric out there that really, truly measures the holistic ecosystem. But what we're trying to do at NBA is actually trying to create that metric. Because I think by us only talking about TV viewership, you're only telling a part of the story, a piece of the story. You're not telling the whole story. And I think, when we add social and digital to linear consumption, our numbers are through the roof. And I think we have the most active social following of any sports league. And every year you see consecutive growth. So we're trying to figure out a metric how to basically combine all of that to basically showcase the strength and the breadth and depth of our ecosystem.
Yeah.
So we're going to build on the breadth.
Okay.
And I would have. So my cousin is in Palestine, and over the past few years, there's been a growing obsession with the NBA. Have you created kind of that? How have you created that global reach? And is it part of a strategy? Was it happenstance?
Yeah, no, it's definitely part of a strategy. We're always thinking about how to grow as a brand. And I think we're I don't think we're saturated yet in domestic. I think there's still room to grow. But I think when you kind of open it out to the global market, there's a lot more room to grow.
Yeah.
And so, over the past years, like there's actually an NBA store in the Abu Dhabi mall,
Cool. Yeah.
which is actually really cool. It has a whole basketball hoop. You could do like shoots in it. You could shoot in it. It's great. But we do a lot of foreign games. So we do games in Abu Dhabi, we do games in Paris, and we do games in Mexico City. So we're purposely like going out and trying to reach out to the global viewers to really kind of bring them into our ecosystem.
Well, especially with players from around the globe.
Yeah.
So there's going to be fandom
Exactly.
happening elsewhere. Yeah, cool stuff.
So where's next? You've mentioned Abu Dhabi, Paris. Where's next?
I can't tell you that. one. I'll tell you. Yes. I'm not going to swim him. Right? I know.
And there's really some good questions. Good
Good job, everybody.
job,
Good job.
guys.
Yeah.
There we go. Wow. Does the viewership from this season impact the scheduling for next season?
100%. So one thing that we always do for Christmas Day, whoever wins the championship for the previous season is always featured on Christmas Day. And then we also round out the lineup for Christmas Day with all the top viewing teams. So obviously the top viewing teams are the Lakers, Golden State, Celtics, obviously New York. And then we definitely try to fill in the schedule with those 4 teams and then fill in with other teams.
Okay. And then in a world where you can go directly to viewers via streaming, what's the impact on like regional sports networks?
Yes. Well, that's a mess. That's like, I don't know if we have enough time to get into the wrong thing. It's really, they're in the influx stage right now. And basically a lot of the teams are moving to their own OTA networks, like over the air networks, to kind of broadcast their games because a lot of the RSNs are going like in bankruptcy. And it's just like, I think right now we're just all trying to figure out how this impacts sports viewership in totality and basically TV viewership as a whole.
Okay, we may need a little bit of clarification on this because unless you get exactly what they're trying to say. Do you find that that game attendance and atmosphere affects TV viewership in any way?
Not at all. Everyone thinks so, but not at all. I think they're two separate things. Think about it. It's a game that you want to watch. Does it matter to you if the arena is empty or if it's full? Like,
If you watch it, you want to watch it.
If you want to watch it, you want to watch it. It doesn't matter who's in the arena. So
that was the easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
I never thought it was going to be hard.
Yeah.
Not hard.
And that's all our questions from here.
Well, that's
So,
we had like a minute left. So cool.
Time is wrong.
I'm going to let you guys finish up here.
That time is right for us.
Oh, okay.
You're going to be okay. I'm going to use my last minute and say, what is it you wish the audience asked or that I had asked that we didn't cover? Because we did. We had a whole brief, which just kind of, anyway,
You guys
happened.
did a great job. I don't know.
So let me ask you this question. When you came to the NBA, were you a little bit like, this is freaking cool? Because put your hand up if you think this is really freaking cool. Right? I'm sitting here thinking like, you are working in a cool place.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about this. Did that feel intimidating? Were you just like, I got this? Like,
Oh, no. I was so nervous. And so let me tell you about my whole journey real quick in 45 seconds.
45 seconds. You
So I applied for a role at the NBA 4 years prior to me getting the job. Went through 10 interviews. I thought I had it in the bag. At the final interview, they told me that we're going to promote the internal person. We didn't get it. Heartbroken, went through depression for 2 years, to be honest. Didn't understand why I was so held up on this.
Yeah, yeah.
4 years later, I applied again, went through 13 interviews.
Yeah.
So I've had a total of 23 interviews.
Wow.
And then finally got it, and just like literally had to pinch myself and just be like, I can't believe this is my job. And I think when it really kind of hit home, and I was just like, oh my God, I really can't believe this, is like walking through the hallways and seeing Adam Silver just like coming into the elevator with you and saying good morning. And you're just like, wait, I just saw you on television last night and you're talking to me? Like, this is crazy. And having to present to him and just like talking to all these like senior execs, and then going to All-Star and then just having like Dennis Rodman like blocking you and you asking Dennis Rodman to move out the way so you go catch your Uber. Like, I'm still pinching myself and saying, wow, I can't believe I'm actually here today.
Yeah, but look, let's just recap 22 seconds. The qualities that you showed throughout that process. We have a lot of people here who have done some interviewing for some positions that wouldn't have had the stamina and the perseverance and the grit to go through that many interviews. What quality do you think you have that can be, kind of a lesson to learn for people who are like, that's a job I want and I need to get there?
I think the difference between the first 10 versus the second 13 was that the first time I was like, I need to have this job, I want this job, and put all this pressure on myself. And I think it kind of did a disservice to myself. Where the second 13, I was just like, you know what? Let me do the best I can in each interview. I would pray every night, like for different things. I wouldn't pray to get the job. I would just pray, let me do the best I can for each interview. And let me just be my authentic self. And let me make a good impression for each interview. And if I don't get it at the end of the day, it's okay. At least I know I did my best.
Yeah.
And I think with that mindset, it just kind of calmed me down. And I actually obviously performed way better than I did the first time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, super inspiring, right? Can we just give her a round of applause?
Thank you. And to you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for asking questions. It's just a pleasure. We love learning from you.
Oh, thank you.
One more. I mean, come on.
Thank you.
Great job.